Yo, what's up you guys? It's Twiggy Wolf, and today I'm gonna see how sharp I can get this old, used and abused Gerber pocket knife. See if I can get it up to sharpening standards with the Lansky basic sharpening kit, just under 30 bucks. So we'll see how it does. Stay tuned. This is an old Gerber that has been beaten to a bloody pulp. It is extreme. There's a little bit areas that are a little bit sharp still, but the majority of it's pretty dull. And this is the basic Lansky kit, and these are just under 30 bucks. You can find these on Amazon. I'll leave the link to this below. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I'm not using any strops, anything else. It is literally the coarse, the medium, and the fine stone with the oil that's included in the kit. That is absolutely it. So let's see if we can get these puppies sharp. Since these knives are pretty old, I'm not going to worry about putting any buffer between basically the clamp and the blade itself. I usually like to do either some type of paper towel or cloth or electric tape in there, just to make sure to protect the blade if it's, you know, like one of your treasured knives. But since these are extremely beaten, I'm not too worried about it. Basically just going to attach these to these. I do like that these knives have a pretty flat surface to clamp on. So this, I don't even know how old this knife is. It's been around a long time. So hopefully we can get this puppy skinning sharp again. Since this is like a hunting or folding knife, I'm going to use the 25-degree mark on the top and the bottom. I'll start off with the coarse stone. Obviously, we want to make sure that the wire is going to be flush with the stone. So what I like to do is set them flat on the table, and then next, you're going to want to make sure that they are kind of the rod is pretty much flat. And if not, you'll have to slightly bend it just to make sure that they are straight. Overall, these look to be pretty flat. So if you do run out of this, I believe they have that Remington oil. You can probably use that. You can get that at, you know, Walmart or whatever, but they do also sell premium knife sharpening oil, which you can also buy. So you make sure your clamp is pretty tight. And you can also, if you're on like a table, you can also use some wax paper and lay that on the table. This is kind of one of my photography tables, and it's not coated, so any oil or anything gets on it. So wax paper helps with that. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my coarse. I believe this is an older kit, and the newer ones do have different colors, but this one is, I'm guessing, 10 or 15 years old, so still works. So it's had a lot of use on it. I usually just go from the kind of, I'll leave about an inch from the top because I only use this section of the stone on the bottom. We'll start off on the 25-degree hole. We'll start off with right with the coarse blade. So kind of, I basically will push the rest up. I use my thumb on the top to kind of take up the slack in the rod. And then as I go down, basically just go in right direction, kind of a downward to the right. So this one is absolutely super dull, so it will take quite a bit. I'm not sure actually the blade steel on this. Some blade steels will obviously be different than others. So slowly I'm starting to see a burr kind of develop on the bottom side of where I'm working on. And you'll just want to check to see the areas of the blade that have the burr and the ones that don't. So the areas that don't have a burr on it, you'll want to focus on a little bit more. So now I'm going to work on the other side. So as you go over the blade with the coarse stone, you'll see certain areas of the blade start to have a burr develop, where it's basically metal shavings on the bottom of the blade, and you can feel it by just lightly touching the blade. And as you could see, this blade was heavily damaged. It got used quite a bit, so it's not completely straight, but I'm starting to feel certain areas which has a burr, and then I'm just going to focus on the areas that don't. And then once I have a burr that kind of goes along the whole underside, I'm going to flip it over, and then I'll probably go 2 more times with the coarse stone, and then I'll start working on the medium stone. So I've started to get a burr on both sides, so the shaping of the edge is starting to take place with the coarse stone. So now probably I see a couple of areas where the blade looks to still need a little bit of focused on, like right here I can see with my bare eyes, as well as on the other side I can kind of see that same spot there. I'm guessing this is the area of that blade that was damaged. So you may need to refocus if the knife has been heavily used on certain areas. If this has been a knife that just kind of has an edge but it's not razor sharp, you probably won't need to use the coarse stone for very long. So it won't take very much to get the burr developing on both sides of the blade with the medium stone. Once you've kind of re-edged the knife with the coarse stone, the medium stone starts acting pretty quickly, because the coarse stone starts developing the shape of the edge, and then basically you're starting to refine that edge. And the burrs come pretty quickly. I want to say probably about 4 passes with the medium stone, and I'm already starting to develop burrs going again. So once I have a burr on one side and kind of ironed out kind of the rough edge of the coarse stone, I'll focus on the areas of that kind of the shape of that blade that maybe look to the eye as to be a little bit coarse. Like right here, it looks like I might need to focus a little bit more the medium stone, and maybe a couple more right here, but I'm already developing a burr already. And you'll notice that after a while, as you go over the passes of that blade, you'll notice that the stone kind of effortlessly kind of glides a little bit easier, because the rough kind of sandpaper texture from that coarse grind on there, it's starting to be less work to actually move the stone across it, as basically the whole edge of that blade kind of gets a little bit smoother. And as you move from coarse to medium to fine, basically it gets a lot easier to kind of go across the edge of the blade. All right, so I've got burrs developing on both sides, and it's this, to me, I'm not going to make it perfect, but I think for the sake of just seeing it for this video, I'll just clean off the edge, and then I'm going to move to the fine stone. So now that I'm kind of happy with where the medium stone ended, I just cleaned off kind of what was on the blade with a rag, and I'm going to start with the fine stone. And then before you use, especially on the fine stone, you'll want to make sure that there's no metal debris on there. Again, I'm going from the 25 degree on here, and it's starting to get very easy to kind of move that stone across the blade, and I'll just want to pay attention to kind of the smoothness as it glides over the blade. the smoother it is, the actual sharper it will be. And you'll want to, so you're going to want to still see that there's a burr on there, but as you go down in coarseness of the grain of the texture of the stone, the burr will get smaller and smaller. And it starts to move very quickly. I mean, as you get down, you really don't need that many passes on the kind of finer stones to finish that edge up. So I'm already starting to feel a burr develop. Now, granted, you can still see a lot of the areas of the blade are not shiny, and they're not, I guess you'd say, like mirror finish. Like here and here, it's still, you can see some coarse marks. That would have been kind of helped by focusing the medium stone on that area a little bit more. Alright, so I'm starting to get pretty happy about where this blade with the fine stone is starting to be. Then going to want to flip it over and then go to the other side. Now you want to do this very lightly, but as you move your finger across the very, very edge of the blade real softly, it'll start to kind of snag your finger and grip, and that's actually a really good sign. And then as I kind of want to finish up the blade, then I'm going to take kind of light strokes across the edge of the blade. So I'm putting kind of moderate pressure. Again, I'm keeping my thumb kind of right on the edge of that, and then I'm pulling the stone down the edge of that blade. And I'm going to want to flip this over, and I'll go the opposite direction. I'd say for $30 sharpener, that is pretty decent for this thing just being utterly destroyed. I'm pretty happy with that. I'd really like to see what the 5 stone from Lansky does, so maybe I'll do another video if you guys want to know kind of the difference. Also an Edge Pro and maybe a Wicked Sharp. If you guys would like to see a series on this, let me know in the comments below. If you want to grab your own Lansky, I'll leave a link below in the description so you can check one out for yourself and maybe grab one to keep your knife sharp. Check out more adventures on TwiggyWolf.com. See you guys later.